Welcome to the fourth in our series on Moravian ideals, Moravian music. Earlier videos in this series have focused on a heart religion of devotion to the Savior, simplicity and stillness, and community and fellowship. Today we focus on the concept that the Moravians have that yes, we are chosen, but we are not exclusive. The Moravian Church has always been ecumenical. That is, it is keenly aware that it is a church among other churches. Indeed, in what we call the ancient unity, the term church, other than a building, was generally applied only to the universal church of Christ in all ages and places, and beyond all time in heaven. Individual churches, what today we would call denominations, were referred to as jednoty, unities. Note that the official name of the denomination was not Moravian Church, but Jednota Braterska, or Unitas Fratrum, unity of brethren, a usage continued today. This ecumenical awareness continued in the 18th century. The Moravians acknowledged the value of the confessions of faith of the several denominations, and Zinzendorf at one time envisioned the unity as being made up of tropen from the various churches. Thus, there was to be a Lutheran trope and a Reformed trope, and so on.
At the same time, there was an awareness that everyone was called to be a Christian, but that not everyone was called to be a Moravian. This does not mean that the Moravians saw themselves as better than other Christians, but that God can use various persons' gifts better in different situations in the various unities. An example of this is given in the memoir of Philip Heinrich Moltke, who was one of the teachers of Zinzendorf's son, Christian Renatus. As Moltke relates, towards Easter of the same year, 1737, the Blessed Ordinarius, Zinzendorf, came through Jena, and after he had spoken individually with each of his son's preceptors, he had us come to him shortly before his departure and ask each one separately whether he gave over himself with his whole heart to the Savior and to the Gemeinde, the Moravian Church, and wished to have himself prepared for his service. Each one said yes. And when at last it came my turn, I answered thus: I am fully convinced that I must fully give myself to the Savior and turn to him from the heart. Otherwise, I am a miserable person, whatever may be. But to give myself to the Gemeinde, that I do not understand, and therefore have no conviction for that. Good, he said, this matter, giving oneself to the Moravian Church, is only for persons who have a complete conviction for it. In the meantime, however, they can continue to instruct my son, and this is the way things remained. It was not until later that same year that Moltke finally came to the realization that his lot was indeed to be within the Moravian Church.
This is the same Moltke who disagreed with Wesley over the concept of stillness. The Moravians and Methodists disagreed over more than stillness, however. The Methodist ideal was to go out eagerly and seek as many converts as possible, and they were quite good at it. The Moravians in the mid-decades of the 18th century were also very attractive to the masses of England. However, the Moravian approach was to make it difficult to gain entry into the unity. Again, this was not because the Moravians thought themselves superior to everyone else, but they realized that their small size and close community was a particular asset. Indeed, the smallness was almost a necessity for the Moravian Church to exercise its particularly intimate pastoral care properly. It is a surprise to many modern Moravians who are so used to hearing that bigger is better to learn that one of the petitions in the 18th century church litany was this: "From unhallowed growth, preserve us, gracious Lord and God."
Similarly, the Moravian idea of Christ as chief elder of the Moravian Church points to a particular closeness of Christ to the unity, without at all denying that Christ is the head of all of the churches which bear his name. These concepts find their expression, again, in Zinzendorf's poetry.
We lift our hearts, dear Savior, Redeemer and Creator, for your humility. Your wondrous name is holy, and yet you come most lowly, as elder of our unity. For us the days we're living, a blessed taste are giving of heaven here below. For your most gracious presence exceeds the highest essence of wonders we can see and know. Dear author of creation, our refuge and salvation, for all in grace you bled. We take your hands nail riven as pledge eternal given, be now and evermore our head.
Thus, for the discussion of the concept of chosen but not exclusive.